You're part of our party group, Senator Noonan, because I think that you really firmly place biodiversity and the threat of biodiversity loss firmly within the agenda, within policies, and your legacy will always be there, Malcolm, so thank you for that. And I think just as was mentioned before, that I suppose the impact of having biodiversity officers, not only biodiversity but heritage officers, and that they are all intertwined, and I know the other senators have raised this as well, it's really important, I think, that the government, I know you said it yourself, Cathaoirleach, that the government will go back and make sure that this is kept firm, that the funding continues to be there, that there's not an inconsistency about funding and a threat about funding. But I suppose I'm going to talk about here, because of Biodiversity Week, I'm going to talk about and because I'm from a coastal community, I'm going to talk about our inland and offshore fisheries. So far in the lifetime of our planet, there have been at least, as we know, 5 mass extinctions, probably 440 million years ago, 365 million years ago, 250, 210, 65 million years ago. And we're all familiar with the theory that a comet caused the last mass extinction 65 million years ago. However, the 4 before were likely caused by volcanic activity and also changes in oceanic chemistry, such as changes in oxygen, methane and carbon dioxide levels in the deep sea. At 99 years of age, the veteran environmentalist and filmmaker David Attenborough has just released a new film. In it, he shows in graphic detail that the damage that we are doing through overfishing, overexploitation, and the wasteful and unacceptable pillaging of life from the ocean. This is not only stripping the oceans of life that we've all spoke about that we need to maintain, but the methods that we use to trawl the seabed for fish and the extraction of oil and gas from wells deep onto the seabed increase the release of carbon dioxide and methane into the sea, which measurably alters the chemical makeup of the water. Most marine life is extremely well adapted to the conditions it finds itself in, and it is not necessarily very easily adaptable. A slight change in the chemical makeup of the water has a profound effect upon the creatures who live within the water. But having moved from the surface of the water into the air, the same CO2 and methane moves into the atmosphere, adding to the levels of warming gases in the atmosphere and driving warmer temperatures on the earth and also in the oceans. Colder oceans slow and even prevent the escape of methane gas from the seabed to the surface, but warmer oceans transport methane quicker from the seabed up to the surface. So, and this has come up, we've all said this as well, that to all our actions there is a reaction, as we're all living forms and we're all connected. So on one hand, we're asking farmers in Leitrim, Sligo and Donegal to re-wet their lands in order to trap carbon, but then we're also allowing super trawlers and fossil fuel conglomerates to play havoc with the delicate balance of ocean life because of their actions to accelerate the release of carbon dioxide and methane which is 80 times more warming than CO2 into the atmosphere. But David Attenborough assures us that there is hope, which is great, and he describes the sea as our greatest ally against climate catastrophe, and he says that the sea is able to recover, to bounce back stronger than ever with remarkable speed in ways that we didn't really know or understand before. This is a message I'm heartened to hear. I'm also heartened that living, as I said, in a coastal community like Sligo, that biodiversity, this week in Biodiversity Week in Sligo, this year recognised the importance of our inland and the care that we need to take of our inland and coastal waters. We need to heed the very serious and real warnings from environmentalists that we risk being responsible for a new mass extinction, but we also need to heed the message of hope. But most of all, we need to act. Message of hope will not bring about change, and I think we as legislators can bring about change. And going back to my very first point, that by looking at make sure that biodiversity and the loss of biodiversity is at the forefront of any decision that we make, ahead of any, I suppose, any monetary money, I think, any monetary decision that's made, I think the impact on the environment and most importantly the impact on biodiversity loss should be the forefront of any of those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very